Hello audience, my target audience is Astro van enthusiasts like myself. This is a 1994 LT EXT that I bought new in 1994. Yeah, November of 94 I bought it. Anyway, I love the van and I'm trying to get it to run again. Sorry for the airplanes, we're near an airport. But it's about 9 in the morning Eastern time. It's the first month of the year, January 20th. It's a Saturday, 2024. Yeah, 2024. It's a Saturday, 73 degrees. It was a brisk 65 degrees when I got up here, and this is January in Southeast Florida. And a lot of the nation is very cold right now. But what I'm endeavoring to do, this is not a how-to video, this is a video diary, a video log. Today I'm going to effort removing the power steering pump, disconnecting the ground on the left bank, which is at the back of the engine, and it's a very important ground, and it gets corroded. And I sprayed it with penetrating oil for a few days, let it set. And when I get those things out of the way, including the bracket, I'm going to pull that left head. Now after I get the head off, I'm going to effort seeing if I have any oil pressure before I start working on the lower end, removing the oil pan, and I'm going to try to discover what was causing the clunking noise. And I had like 40 psi, but while I was filming it dropped down to almost zero, or went to zero. Unfortunately, the coupler failed on my oil gauge. The little ball bearings fell out, and I see one sitting there, and I'll try to recover it out of the grass and repair that quick disconnect connector. But I've sent a message to the manufacturer of the mechanical oil pressure gauge and see if they respond to me. They say they're 100% guarantee, so hopefully they respond to me. And I always get a little depressed when I can't start and run my Astro van. I really like this vehicle. It's given me many years of good service and a lot of fun family trips. And the air conditioning does work in it. Or it did till I took it apart. But getting this power steering pump is going to be a messy, dirty job. So I'm going to remove the lower shroud to give me better access while I'm working. And the lower shroud is just kind of chewed up anyway. I need to do some repairs on it, work on the shroud while it's out, see if I can do something to make it work a little bit better. As far as my video diary logs go, I appreciate the audience watching. Give me a thumbs up if there's anything interesting in here, of interest to you, please. The thumbs up gives me some encouragement. I am not being monetized by anybody for these video diary logs. Until YouTube, I have to have 4,000 subscribers, and I have 350 in the last 6 or 7 years, so I don't think I'm ever going to reach monetization. But I'm mainly doing this for the van enthusiasts and for my own memory, so I can remember what I did and how I did it when I go to put this back together again. And I'm not sure if I'll ever finish this, because I don't know how to get this engine out of here without pulling the subframe. I don't want to cut the front. These fronts are too weak to begin with, and I don't want to cut it to get the engine in and out. I know people do that, but I really don't want to do harm to this van more than Mother Nature has done over the last 30 years. So I don't want to drone on forever in this segment, but I know my videos are long-winded. You can always fast forward to the end and see my research and my notes and my research and pictures, and all that stuff is going to be at the end of every video production. And there's a difference between the segments. This is a segment. that I later turn into a production. And it takes time on the computer to convert the segments into a production. And I'm working alone and I have limited skills when it comes to video editing. So I'm doing the best I can to teach myself how to improve these things, so I can take the video diaries and then use the footage into a video production, and hopefully be more appealing to my audience and more interesting to watch. And I appreciate all the feedback. Every comment means something to me. But one of the reasons I want to get this Astro van working again is I was really close with my father. He was a good man and I loved him dearly. And his health declined at age 48 with transient attacks, ischemic transient attacks, which they call mini strokes. So his health started to decline at age 48, but he lived almost to 83. And my mother died at 62. My mother loved going out in the boat, and so after my father died, I was like, what would make me happy? I said, well, if I could get my Astro van in good shape and get my boat in good shape, I would enjoy them in retirement. And I'm not retired, I'm looking for work as an electrical engineer, electronic engineer, using my FAA skills, aviation and aerospace. And I used to love to put instrumentation packages on engine generators so we could monitor the fuel level, the oil pressure, the coolant temp, all that stuff using telemetry. And FAA has a secure form of that. Anyway, I love doing that stuff, validating sensors. So it was a lot of fun. And some really interesting travel. Really interesting travel. So that said, thanks for watching, I guess. I got to get dirty, and it's a little bit damp here. I think it's rained overnight, and I got to get dirty now, and haven't spent a lot of time sipping my coffee yet. So anyway, if anybody can find me a high-paying job doing electrical and electronics engineering. I'm also an inventor. I had a lot of my inventions work and be employed over the years, but never got credit for much, but that doesn't matter. What I'm more concerned with is that humanity benefited, and so if I can ever get this van working again, I can tow my boat. But it's a long road from where I am today to where I want to be. About this van. A lot of work ahead of me, and it's kind of depressing working alone. And I'd feel better if I knew how to get the engine in and out of this without having to lift the van up somehow with a crane, or I don't know how I'd lift it up. I'm going to talk to some shops in Homestead, see if they'll help me with their lifts and see what they tell me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Alright, I'm trying to remove the lower shroud without damaging it, and the problem I run into is there's not enough room with the fan on, and I can't get the fan off because the nuts are frozen on and I can't hold it steady to get the fan bolts off. So instead of doing that, I'm going to remove the water pump as an assembly and get the whole works out of the way, and then I'll be able to get the shroud out. So note to self, earlier in this process I should have removed the fan to make more room so I could get the shroud out without having to remove the radiator. The reason I don't want to remove the radiator, I've tried it in the past and it's bending, twisting. The line is not unfreezing, so I got to put some penetrating fluid on that to get the radiator out. And you know, I could cut the line and put an extension on there, but I got enough problems without trying to do that. So the easiest thing to do at this point is for me to pull a water pump with the fan as an assembly and hope that works. So that said, what time is it? How much time have I wasted on this? Okay, well, it's 9:25. It's Saturday, January 20th, 2024. Thanks for watching. It's 9:45 a.m. Eastern Time, audience. January 20th, 2024. It's a Saturday, 71 degrees. 9:45 a.m. Dennis John Seatsma Productions, Homestead, Florida. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do at your own risk. This is a video diary, a video log to help me remember how I took it apart and in what sequence and how to put it back together. I had a problem getting the lower shroud out, so I've resorted to using the mechanics yellow disposable gloves because the back of my hands are all cut up and I've suffered enough, so I'm wearing the gloves now. But I took off the water pump. It was four very hard to get out 14mm bolts, and here's the bolts, 4 big ones, and man, these were tough to get out. I don't know if they put never seeds, they put some kind of compound on there and made them tough to come out. I thought they were cross-threaded, but they weren't. Anyway, I got 4 bolts for the water pump, 2 for the lower shroud, and 1 for the snorkel here over here. So I'm adding this level of detail to help myself put it back together. I'll probably take that lower hose off just so it's not dangling there. Now, they've had trouble. People have reported trouble getting these timing chain cover. This one's almost rusted out on the bottom despite all the grease and oil on it, unless I'm mistaken. Now, if we have to take the crankshaft out in the future, I'll worry about that later. But some people have reported trouble getting the right timing chain that doesn't leak. So, but this is the original, and I can always have it repaired if it does have rust damage, or replace it but anyway, this has got the funky timing thing on here with the factory thing. It's got 2 marks, and I marked one orange and the other one yellow to align it up to show TDC. And I believe the first mark is orange and the second mark is yellow, and the yellow mark is the one that lines up. And I do have the marks here. I didn't think I had timing marks on there, but I do. So I got to clean that off so I can see it and put some paint on the correct mark for timing. Now, when we do the base timing later, we'll get into that later, but let me talk about it briefly here and show you what I'm doing. On the electrical harness, which I want to get out of the way so I can inspect it, I want to at least pull it back and clean it up a little bit and try to put more insulation on it after I inspect all the wires. But I can't get it loose from the back of the block, otherwise this is all loose, this harness. And shame somebody doesn't make an aftermarket for this that's reasonably priced. I know some people do, but anyway, from this angle you can see with the pump and fan out of the way, I now have easy access to the lower, to the bracket that holds the power steering pump, and easy to remove the power steering pump. But what did I bring you back here for? Oh, my mechanical oil, my brand new one failed at the coupler. I told you about that in a prior segment. So when I check oil pressure, I'm going to have to check it with electrical. And that'll give me an opportunity to show again how to use a resistor to validate the electrical works and is accurate, because somebody criticized my prior video production was 1 hour and 5 minutes. It was too long, and I agree with them, so thanks for the feedback. I'll think about it. This video diary is for me to know how I took it apart and put it back, and other enthusiasts, and what sequence was easiest to take it apart and put it back together. Like I said, I should have taken the fan off earlier, because then I probably could have got this shroud off. Oh yeah, now I remember. This is kind of chewed up, this shroud. I used my finger so I can see it on the monitor. This side's okay. This one here is chewed up, and I've tried to fix it, and I don't know how to fix it. So if anybody in the audience has any, and this one here is also chewed up. Okay, that there. It's chewed up. And then this one here is okay. And these shrouds I see online are available, but they're expensive. And then the two lower bolts here, they're okay. No, this one is yeah, this one's alright. Let me look at the other one. That one's okay too. They're kind of chewed, but not bad. So now that I'm this far along, I can work on removing that bolt down there, and the other bolts, and get the bracket and power steering pump to come off, and easy access to where the hoses connect. So should make this easier job. But it's time for a break. Got a little bit of work done. I'll put some of this super coil penetrating fluid on the bolts for the fan later. I gotta set this not like that. I gotta set this that's horizontal. I need to set this vertical, or all the oil will come out of that and ruin it. And I found that out the hard way working on this in the past. It has to be not, it has to be sitting like that. It has, or the oil will come out of the damping assembly. And for penetrating fluid, I like this Cano coil. Let me turn it around. I like this penetrating fluid the best. And I am not being monetized by anybody until I have 4,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I only have 350 now. Thank you for subscribers. You're the loyal 350, I'll call you for now. Anyway, I'm going to take off the rubber gloves, sip a little coffee. Thanks for watching. Hello audience, 9:57 a.m. January 20th, 2024. It's a Saturday, 75 degrees. Dennis John Seatsma Productions, Dennis Seatsma speaking. 1994 Astro van. I decided to do a little more work. Now, it's really important to bag and tag your bolts and not get in a hurry like I just did, and make sure you bag and tag the bolts correctly as to what they are and where they go. Otherwise you have to ferret it out later by trial and error, and that's boring. So that said, those bolts there were for the air conditioning compressor. These 4 bolts are for the water pump and the shroud. They're the 3 small bolts. And you see, this doesn't stick out. These are the bolts on the bracket that holds the air conditioning and the power steering pump. And you see, let me point here, they don't stick out very much. So that's kind of weird, eh? But how many bolts do I have here? I have 1 on the bottom, and then a 14 millimeter that's easy to see. They're all 14 millimeter, but that one, and that one. So there's 3 bolts or 4 bolts. Let me check. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3. There's at least 4 bolts, okay? And I left the bolts in here. You can't see them, but they are here. They are, let me point at that one, and then the one on the bottom down here, way down here, where I'm pointing, and then the one on the other side. So that's the bracket and the pump. Now to get the pump out, I got to disconnect the hoses, of course, to the high and low side. The low side goes to the reservoir. The high side goes to, I think, the radiator for cooling, maybe. Anyway, this has the factory package for towing. It's rated for 5,000 pounds, and I custom ordered this van to my specs. Back in '94, they let you do that. It wasn't you buy what we give you and you like it. Back then you could order electrical dash or analog dash or cruise control, no cruise control, touring package, no touring package, and they would build it to your specs or find one in inventory in colors and all that. But we had that in '94. I don't know what we have now. I haven't bought a new car from General Motors in a very long time, like never, except this one. All the other cars were given to me when they fell into decline. The other GM I bought was a Vega in 1972, and I highly modified that engine to make it reliable. I sleeved it, and that made it reliable. And never did get very good gas mileage. I think peak was like 17 miles a gallon, and the reason I was buying the car was to get a better fuel consumption. I should have bought a Toyota Celica. That was only $300 more in 1972, which $300 then is different than $300 now with inflation. But they say the economy's getting better. I don't feel it. I go to buy chicken, fast food, eggs, poultry, meat, the grocery store. I don't see any prices coming down yet. I don't think they ever will. So much for saving for retirement, people. You save it when you're young and it's worth nothing when you're old, I guess. I guess that's the government's plan. The government, whoever the hell's running it, they find ways to tax, spend, tax, and then when you're old, the money's not worth anything, I guess. Anyway, enough of the rant. On to the next segment, people. Video diary, not a how-to. Do-it-yourself work is done at your own risk. Death or injury can result, and at bare minimum, you'll cut your hand. Hello, audience, Astro van fans and others that like the working on the General Motors 4.3 liter V6 engine. It's 11:14 a.m. Eastern Time. Today is January 20th, 2024. It's a Saturday. It says it's 95, but it's still cool. It's probably in the 70s right now. And we're expecting a cold front tomorrow. And I've recharged my work light. And I've done a little more work. I do a little at a time and take a break and think about what I want to do. But I've got everything bagged and tagged as to my bolts to make it go back easier together without a lot of guessing. And I bag and tag everything, or bag it at least. Oop. And I'm tearing up my hands, so I'm using gloves now, but my skin is so thin on the back of my hands. But I wanted to mention a few things. Make sure when you put this back together, put in the lower radiator shroud first, because you may not get it in later once you have the fan on, the water pump and all that. It's in the way, so remember, Dennis, note to self. When I took this hose off, it's 8mm is the socket, and I use ultra long extensions to reach the clamps, and I try to point the clamps on the radiator side down, so and on the outboard side, like towards the side of the van, instead of inboard side, so I can reach it easy when I do the annual coolant service. If you don't do coolant service every year, or every 3 years, whatever the recommendation is, it can turn into like oatmeal and clog up your system at worst case, and your radiator and all that. And it can also corrode out your head gaskets. So you want to do the coolant service on a regular basis, whether you think you need it or not. I do it at least once a year, maybe 30,000 miles or 3 years. I don't know what the recommendation is, but that said, this bracket is loose. Now, for the hoses, it's a 18mm flare wrench for the hydro boost connection, and it's a 20mm flare wrench on the radiator, and having the right tools make easier work of it. So it's good to have the right tools for this kind of thing. I highly recommend you using the correct tools. It's a good investment. Good tools will last you your whole life. I started buying really good tools when I was a young fella, and now I have quite a collection to pass on to my heirs or whoever comes after me. But now that I'm bleeding, I'm gonna have to do something about that. And next I'll work on the valve cover on the left bank and try to get the head loose on the left bank. Once I get this power steering lifted, and looks like I got a couple more, looks like 10mm bolts here, get those loose, and a couple more 8mm hose clamps to get that loose. Or maybe I'll just leave this in place and just do the 8mm hose clamp. There's also an SAE side that fits that, but I prefer to stick with metric just for ease of my memory. I can remember 8mm easier than I can remember 5/16 or whatever it is in SAE. Again, audience, give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Hello audience, Astro Van fans. I finally got the power steering bracket and pump off. Try not, repeat, try not to lose O-rings when you take things apart that have hydraulic hoses on there. But got it off, and I made some mistakes in the last segment, and so note to self. It's after 12, it's 12:18 Eastern Time, January 20th, 2024. It's a Saturday. This says 100 degrees, but it's not that warm. With the power steering pump and bracket away, we can talk about how I got it out and a couple other things. Number one, scratch the comment about using metric for the clamps. Dennis, note to self, keep a SAE clamp 5/16 and SAE something else here without knocking all my tools off. SAE, can't read it. Come on. Come on. I gotta read it somehow. Even in the sunlight I can't read it. 1/4 inch. 1/4, 1/4 inch drive. Keep those two handy for the clamps. As far as the big thing on the back of the, where the hydraulic goes in the pump, I'd use a big crescent, 16mm to crack that loose. I don't have a 16mm flare wrench, so note to self, buy one. And also note to self, buy some a 6mm and a 5mm 1/4 inch socket. I have 5.5s, but I don't have 5 and 6. The other things that were useful was I had to get a couple lines out of the way that I maybe didn't have to mess with, like these two lines going to the radiator from the oil cooler. Those lines like to leak, so inspect those and replace them when you need to. Otherwise you'll have a filthy mess. I've already replaced these. I went to Napa a few years ago and got those. I don't know how long ago. Again, look carefully not to lose the O-rings, and probably better to bag and tag them too so they don't bump off like mine did. I lost one of them in the grass. I got to look for it later. If I had had an oil pan under there, I might have caught it, but you know what happens when I get in a hurry. Hurry scurry, make mistake, and then regret. But anyway, to get these loose, I used like an 18mm. Let me find the 18. I checked the sizes with a regular wrench, and then I used the flare nuts to actually get them busted loose, because you can really torque these kind of wrenches pretty good without doing any damage or slipping off. And let's see, how big was that? I think that was 18mm. Might have been 19. Alright people, I can't do this. This is either an 18, no, it's either an 18 or a 19. Don't lose any more O-rings, Dennis. Don't lose it. Can you even see that? I don't know, what's with this camera? Did I zoom in or zoom out? I want to zoom out. Alright. I don't know, it's either 18 or 19mm. I'd planned it better than this, Dennis. I think it's 19mm, And you see, I didn't buy all these wrenches at the same time because I'm so thrifty. Better to buy them in a set if you can. They tend to be less expensive if you buy sets of stuff. And I don't know, I think it's 19 or 18 people. Anyway, that one, I got loose from where? Alright, anyway, I think the hose, the return line hose, this hose here, well that's, yeah, is that the return line? Anyway, one of these hoses I think was leaking and needs to be replaced, because I had an oily mess there around the bottom of the power pump, power steering, whatever connects here to that small one, I think needs to be replaced. The bigger one goes to the tank, so I'll have to check my other video diary segments and see what I did before I start taking things apart. And there's another hose down here that's hanging. Okay, where does that go? Oh, that goes to the back of the power steering pump and that's high pressure going to the hydro boost. And if you look at my past video diaries, you'll see I did a whole series on how to change the seal in this hydro boost, and oh, was that a pain. But make sure you get the correct seal. It has to fit the inner and the outer diameter of the bore perfectly, and I got my parts from Pirate Jack for that. Thank you, piratejack.net. And alright, now I wanted to leave these hooked up to the radiator for now because I want to crank this over and see what oil pressure I can get with the heads off. And I'll do that a little bit later. And thank you to the people on the Astrovan groups for your tips. I'm asking for a tool for the distributor because I want to crank this over, and I need to get some good pictures of the end of the distributor because they sell all these tools, and I need something that would actually work with, I can't see with the sun in my eyes, with that end in it where it won't slip off. And I'm cursing whenever it slips off. So I need to take a picture of that. And anyway, that's it for this segment, I think. 12:24, time for lunch. So I'll take the distributor inside and take some pictures, because there's all kinds of engine primer tools, but I need something that fits the bore here, the bore where the distributor goes, and have it where I can turn it without interfering with the camshaft. And this engine's so old it probably has the lobes wore off the camshaft, so I probably need a camshaft. I'm hoping to do all the work on this with the engine installed, even the lower end if I can, because there's a lot of room down there. Because the bores are okay, I don't see any reason to rebore it. Probably just re-ring it and keep going would be good. So anyway, we'll see. Thumbs up, people, if you like anything in the video. Subscribers, thank you. I need 4,000 subscribers, or no money until I have 4,000, and right now I got 350. And I hope you like my video. Thanks for watching. Hello audience, it's 5:44 in the afternoon. I had to give up for the day, and I don't know what's going on here, if I'm out of focus or if the autofocus is not working, or I don't know what's happening. But anyway, it's the 20th of January, and it's 5:45 in the afternoon. It's a Saturday. Temperatures dropped a little bit. It says it's 77, but it feels cooler. I've sprayed down the what happened to the focus on this? Did my camera fail altogether? I've sprayed down the left bank, the exhaust bolts, real good with this Cano Aerocoil, and I want to get those bolts loose and then call it a day. I really want to get the left bank off, the head off, but it's getting late in the day, and I think I've done a lot already for one day. But video diary. This is not a how-to. Dennis Seatsma, Dennis John Seatsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Do-it-yourself work can result in death or injury, so do at your own risk. Okay, I want to see if I can get any oil pressure out of this, and I can only measure it using the electrical sender, because the mechanical gauge, I found two of the 3 ball bearings for the quick disconnect for the gauge, and can't find the third. It's probably down the grass somewhere. But that said, got a lot done so far today. Some of the stuff that, what is wrong with this camera? I really wanted to videotape everything here. I may go to the iPhone, but I didn't want to use the iPhone that much because it's hard to edit. The camera works better for that. This is an old camera, need a new one. It's been abused and used. Maybe it's a setting. Anyway, got the front end off. All of the bolt-on stuff to the front of the engine. I can't believe one little damn mistake that I made caused me to lose oil pressure and for it to destroy the lower end. I just can't believe that I did something so disastrous. So I was working on the fuel injection and the pressure side popped off the spider, and that flooded the lower plenum with gas that leaked into the cylinders, and I think that somehow got down to the bottom and washed out the bearings. That just doesn't seem logical to me. It just, I don't know, that scenario just doesn't seem right. Anyway, I'm going to try to get the exhaust manifold off. I'm going to wear gloves again because I don't want to get all dirty again. And what is wrong with the focus on this thing? What can I do to make it focus? I don't know. It just doesn't want to focus. It says it's on auto. I don't know, man. Maybe the screen's dirty. Let me turn it off and I'll find out. Hello audience, it's 6:21 in the evening on the 20th of January. It's a Saturday. It's 6:22. And I got the 2 front bolts loose on the on the left bank, the 2 front ones on the left bank of the 4.3 liter V6 on my 1994 Astro van. This Dennis Seatsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. I also got all the lifters and rods out on the left bank. Note to self, Dennis, this front bolt, when you crack these out, they're 14mm, crack them off with the bigger, the 1/2-inch drive ratchet to get them loose, just to crack them. Then switch over to the smaller socket for the 3/8 drive, because with the bigger ratchet you're bumping into those ABS lines with the front bolt, and it causes you a lot of misery. So note to self, use a smaller tool once you get them to start turning. And I didn't have any trouble with these first 2, so hopefully the other 4 cooperate. And that's for this segment until I get more work done. And thanks for watching. Turned out I didn't have a problem with the focus. The screen, the monitor screen was dirty. Anyway, it's almost 7 p.m. I'm going to call it a night. I got the front 2 exhaust manifold bolts off on the left bank, the driver's side, and like I said, the front bolt was bumping into those ABS lines, so you want to switch from a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 inch drive. And I had the best access under the van for the back 2 bolts and to pull off the spark plug leads. I haven't got the plugs out yet, but I'll get to that a little bit later. But what I wanted to show detail on is this situation here with the stud, and that's on the number 3 cylinder, and it's the bolt in the back. It's a stud actually, and it holds that bracket for the air conditioner. So I want to get some pictures of that. I don't know if I got good focus here or not. On the monitor it shows it out of focus. Yeah, that or my eyes are out of focus. But I'm going to take a picture of that and probably make some notes. Number 3 cylinder, the rear bolt is a stud for the AC bracket. I need to make a note of that. So that's it for today, the 20th of January 2024. Dennis Seatsma, Dennis John Seatsma Productions, Homestead, Florida, USA. Do-it-yourself work can be hazardous and cause death or injury, so do-it-yourself work is done at your own risk. Thanks for watching.